Hello, everybody. Take two. I am Louise Edington, the Cosmic Owl, your Cyberpunk Witch Priestess to the stars, and I'm here today to talk about the lunar eclipse that is occurring on March the 3rd, 2026. I'm recording this on February the 18th, the day after the solar eclipse. Already feeling way better. That eclipse hit me like a big bag of bricks, but anyway, that's okay. But as usual, I have pulled some cards. I'll go through numbers, I'll go through some other things, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the path to the eclipse because we're right now in the eclipse tunnel, portal, path, the path between the eclipses, let's say. All right. So before I look at the cards and the chart for the eclipse, I will mention if you could subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. All these things help these videos spread further, get seen by more people. I would also invite you to have a look at my series immersion. I'm offering this 2-day series online immersion on the 21st and 22nd of March. And it's going to be 2 almost full days, about 5 hours, 10 till 4 with an hour break for lunch, two sections on each day, deep diving into Ceres and really kind of getting to know her and embody her well. And this will be an experiential journey of descent and ascent, but we'll also be looking at people's charts on the calls. And we probably won't be able to look at everybody's, but everybody will get a copy of their own chart in the house system I use with Ceres on it. And also, there's going to be a handout with Ceres through the signs and the houses. It's all kind of based on my book, but going way deeper. And there will be an optional buy-on of a detailed workbook and a dedicated meditation for integrating Ceres afterwards. That's an optional buy-on, but I haven't added the extra buy-on yet. Look for that later, but there's payment plans available. There's an early bird price available. So look at the link below in the description or go to my website, louiseedington.com, and you'll see the page for the Ceres workshop. Okay, so this eclipse, holy. So I'm going to show you the cards first of all, and as always, we'll come back at the end and look at them. So we have the Witch of Threads, which is Circe. We have the Three of Cups. Nice cards, by the way. Eight of Discs. And the Priestess of Priorities. So this is the last eclipse on March the 3rd that is going to happen with the nodes in Virgo and Pisces. Now, you could say in a nutshell, the Virgo and Pisces nodes since early last year have been asking us to kind of integrate the material and spiritual worlds in all ways. I'm not going to go into much more detail than that, other to say that neither is all good or all bad. The Virgo, we're finding out where we may have been over in servitude, overgiven, or too stuck on rigid analytical detail, the empirical in an earth sign. And the North Node is being pulled to integrate more of the so-called spiritual or intuitive, compassionate kind of energy, but then to bring it down to earth in a more meaningful way. And we're seeing this show up in so many ways. But the North Node's also been too much. So we're also seeing the revealing of gaslighting and the spiritual gurus who are not very grounded, that kind of thing, more kind of cult kind of energy. We've been seeing that when Neptune was also going through Pisces since 2011, but when the North Node has been in Pisces, that's even been heightened. We're seeing, people calling the administration that we're under in the US a cult and things like that. I don't want to go into politics and detail, but it is the last eclipse with the nodes in Pisces, Virgo. We will have some crossover. We've got a couple more Pisces and Virgo eclipses, but the nodes will shift back into Leo and Aquarius on July the 26th of this year. So the next lot of eclipses will have the nodes in Aquarius and Leo, and that's a whole different flavour, which we'll talk about nearer the time. So it's the last eclipse for that reason in those signs. Now then, let me kind of just quickly share the chart and some things I will talk about. So this full moon eclipse is at 12 degrees. We've just had five full moons at 13 degrees. 5 and 13, by the way, are numbers associated with the Fibonacci sequence or the golden mean, or whatever you want to call it. You can go and look that up if you want. Golden mean, it's called all kinds of things. But anyway, it's a powerful number in nature. It's very much to do with the Venus cycle in many ways. So yeah, I talk about that in my Venus retrograde course that's coming up at the end of September, the heroine's journey. Now then, also, you know, this is this area of the chart is okay. So where did I want to go with that? Well, I'll talk about the 8 in a minute, the nodes. Well, actually, that's a number of infinity, said to be a powerful number, equally balanced, up or down, the 8. And that's about mixing the material and the spiritual as well. So it's said to be a number of power and abundance and wealth. But that's because when you're fully balanced in the material and spiritual realms, you are more abundant. Okay. Now then, this is also a 12-degree full moon. 12 is a number of completion. It's 1 is the action, but also the divine masculine. 2 is the divine feminine. Makes 3, which is a very creative number. And incidentally, 1, 2, and 3 are also Fibonacci sequence numbers, because it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. Again, on and on. It's adding the last 2 numbers together to make the next one. It's a really magical formula. So anyway, this full moon in so many ways is all about mixing the material and the spiritual, coming out of that overly empirical realm and moving into an integrated realm where we integrate the practical with the mystical, if you like. So I could expand on it forever, but you know, I don't want to go on and on and on. But this is the path that we've been working on with the nodes in Virgo and Pisces. And as I said, this is a 12-degree eclipse, the last eclipse with the nodes in Virgo and Pisces. Everything is pointing to another point of completion, another kind of peak, okay, in lots of ways. Also on this eclipse, and I'll talk about what all this means in a minute, but we have, you'll notice we have Mercury there. Mercury will be retrograde and conjunct Nessus. I'll talk about that in a moment. Mars will also have moved into Pisces. So we've got Mars now in Pisces and Neptune in Aries. So Mars and Neptune are in a mutual reception, as are Uranus. Not Venus, no, she was, no. So we did have Venus and Uranus in mutual reception. Venus was in Uranus sign Aquarius, and Uranus is in Venus sign Taurus. But now they've moved on. But now we have Mercury in Neptune sign, and Mars in Neptune sign Pisces, and Neptune in Mars sign Aries. They're speaking to each other. This again is the rise of the spiritual warrior energy, of softening the energy of the masculine, to realize that the masculine has that softer side too, as well as the feminine having that more masculine side. We are all that yin yang symbol with the little dots in the middle. If you think of it about it, or go and look, most people think of the yin yang as the 2 halves of black and white. Well, the full stamp symbol also has the little dots of the opposing color, the black in the white side and the white in the black side. And it's all perfectly balanced. And this is what we're being asked to do in so many ways, balancing the feminine, the masculine, the spiritual, the practical, all of these things, the material and the wave energy, if you like, of the universe, the cosmos. Powerful, powerful, powerful. We also have Nessus and Mercury conjunct. I'll talk about that. Venus is at 26 Pisces, which was where Mercury stationed direct last year in March, when we had the first lot of eclipses during the Venus retrograde, where Venus and Mercury moved from 9-10 Aries back to 24 to 26 Pisces. Endings and beginnings. This whole period has been this death and rebirth energy, endings and beginnings, integration, though, of the practical or the physical and the spiritual or the intuitive, whatever you want to describe it as. We've also got Saturn and Neptune now starting to separate, and I did mention one of the cards is called Circe. I thought I would throw asteroid Circe in just for shits and giggles, and here she is, exactly square to Saturn. Yeah, square, but she is the faster moving object. She is the alchemist, the sorceress, and she's in the moon sign. So she is alchemizing this rebirth that we're in the sign of Cancer, sign of birth, and Saturn is becoming a different kind of beast in the energy of Aries for thousands of years. You know, if you've heard me talking, this Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries, first time in over 6,000 years. So, you know, it's all adding up. But a lot of this is harking back, not the sun and moon, is harking back to last March. Now, Pallas Athena is exactly conjunct the sun on this eclipse. I'm just going to stop the share. Would you mind if I just pause? I hear somebody at the door. Pause. I'll be right back. Thank you. Thanks for your patience. So where was I? Oh, yes. I was talking about that Pisces Aries shift. Everything over the last year has been shifting, that endings and beginnings. Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac. Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. And of course, we're moving on the other end from the Virgo into kind of Libra energy as well, because we're always moving to the polarities in many ways, because it's all about integration in the middle. Everything is. Anyway, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I do want to mention a couple of things. I'm going to mention that right now, as I record on the 18th, in that you cannot make this stuff up energy, the moon is about to occult Pisces, Mercury. So that's like another little eclipse on the way to the full moon. So the moon conjunct Mercury, the occultation is happening today. Yes, it is. Oh, that's because I've gone a month ahead. Sorry. Yes, it's happening February the 18th, and it's happening at 18 degrees on the 18th, and that's an endings. But it's also 1 new beginnings and an 8 of that mixing the spiritual and the material. All these things just keep pinging together. It's kind of wild. Okay, kind of wild. So as I record, we're about to have this literal lunar occultation of Mercury on the 18th. Then on the 20th, on Friday, which is when Saturn and Neptune meet at 0 Aries for the first time at that degree in over 6,000 years, Mercury will conjunct Centaur Nessus, which is the buck stops here. We've had enough. We're starting to really see all these toxins and it's enveloping. It's horrific, honestly. It's kind of like enveloping us. I've seen a lot of people really having to take care of their mental health from what we're finding out about the web of corruption, not just around Jeffrey Epstein, but now we're seeing there's all these different things, and and I just saw something else pop up today in the BBC, and I haven't even looked at it yet, about this kind of sex trafficking kind of energy as well. So Mercury will conjunct Nessus on the 20th. So I'm recording on the 18th with the lunar occultation of Mercury, which is like another eclipse. It is a reset, okay? And Mercury is in its pre-shadow for its retrograde right now. 20th, Mercury will meet Nessus. Then Mercury will go retrograde at 22 degrees of Pisces, and we'll meet Nessus again on the lunar eclipse, March the 3rd at 20 degrees. But then finally Mercury will meet Nessus for the last time after stationing direct at 8 Pisces, which is where the nodes are sitting right through the eclipses, and then we'll conjunct Nessus finally again at 21 degrees. Now then, this is where I quickly want to mention the number 12 for the 12 degrees. I said it was a number of completion, but also if you turn it around, it's 21, which is where Mercury will meet Nessus again after 2 conjunctions at 20 degrees. Again, what is this meaning? Okay, so to my mind, this is how my brain works at least. 12 is 1 and 2. It's the number of completion. It's the number of signs in the zodiac. It's the number of hours on a clock face. It's the number of months, calendar months in a year. But then if we transpose the numbers, it's 21 degrees. And 21 in numerology is also that mix of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, which is 1 and 2. But 21 is high creativity and a karmic reward vibration, which is linked to prosperity and success in so many ways. All right. All that to say, it's all the masculine feminine energy kind of being combined in that yin yang circle in so many ways right now, and it all goes back. A lot of it started last March. We've been on this year-long journey of starting to integrate the spiritual into the practical, or the material into the woo, and but also from seeing the hunger of the North Node, which can be the gaslighting. It's too much. Also not being able to see clearly, being taken in by cults. But also Neptune has been having other aspects that are helping the clouds part. Virgo in its shadow can be where we've overgiven, been over in servitude of doing the right thing as told to us by society, and now it's stepping into wholeness and doing something meaningful and right work that comes from within. This has been the general journey for all of us, all right? And this has been going on for a year. But because this is the last full moon, the last eclipse with the nodes in Virgo and Pisces, this is yet another peak in this cosmic rebirth that we are going through, or rising consciousness that we are going through, all these things that we keep talking about as astrologers, many of us. Anyway, so July, which is when the nodes miss, is another peak period in huge. It's the time of massive change, right? As the nodes change, that's when Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus and Haumea, I will say, are all speaking to each other. But that's July. We're not there yet. This full moon is a blood red moon. It's a total full moon, making it a big, big reset. The moon's face is shadowed out fully by the Earth's shadow on this full moon. So this is like a big emotional bloodletting, if you like. You may find yourself feeling really, really tearful in all of this, but it's also got the sun and the moon shining their big old lights, their energy, right, onto the earth. And this is saying have an emotional reset, as in actually tuning into your emotions as well. So there's so many layers to this full moon, this blood red moon eclipse. Now, Pallas Athena, the wise warrior, but also the goddess of crafts, I mentioned Virgo. Virgo is very much to do with things you do with your hands. Mercury is also to do with your hands as well, by the way, because Mercury is the modern guide for Virgo. But anyway, oh God, so much going on in this full moon. And this is really kind of pulling us towards that kind of more wholesome kind of energy. Growing your little vegetable patch maybe, or some indoor vegetables that you can kind of grow on one of those things that stack up, or knitting, sewing, woodworking. Pallas Athena was the goddess of crafts, as well as wise strategy and wisdom, and pulling pieces together. Pallas Athena is also very associated with astrology in many ways, but she was the king's daughter, kind of born of this virgin birth. Oh ho, where do we get that from? She was written by the patriarchy as this warrior, and said to, she had no mother, she had no this. Well, this is a reset of that, because of course she did have a mother, but Jupiter ate her. But anyway, and Jupiter is also being taken down a peg or two in this eclipse as well, because it's the main aspect to the eclipse. Jupiter in Cancer at its station direct degree in the moon's sign, ready for this big rebirth. Okay, so over and over. But Pallas Athena enables us to see through the clouds as well, in that Pisces energy, to see the gaslighting. Add in Mercury conjunct Nessus for the second time on the eclipse day, right? So starting now, is really again cutting through the messaging, cutting through the news, cutting through what we say as well, but our perceptions as well. Does anybody else think, my God, with everything that's coming up now, it's almost too big? But I think we did have to see it to bring an end to it. This is beyond Epstein sex trafficking on his own. It's all to do with money laundering, all these webs of corruption and buying people, and all the wealthy patriarchy buying each other, men and women, in many, many ways. This is really the end of empire, or the end of the patriarchy, or the end of whatever you want to call it. There's full moon, the last one in Virgo and Pisces, before that peak shift turnaround month in July. In this peak turnaround year, is saying it's time for things to be eclipsed, all right, in just so many ways. Now then, I did mention one of the cards is Circe, the witch. So I thought for shits and giggles, I'd add in a couple more asteroids. So I'm going to talk about them. But first, Circe. Circe is the sorceress. Here she is. She's at 2 Cancer. She is actually square to Saturn on this. And Saturn is where the Venus star point was when the Sun and Venus met, when Venus was retrograde last March 21st. So again, the patriarchy is being softened, taken down. I'm seeing more and more people talk about, how the patriarchy has harmed men as well. It's just kind of expanded. Some of us have been talking about it for a long time. But Circe is the witch, the alchemizer, she turned men into pigs when they were behaving like pigs. But I think that was a, plant medicine, shall we say. But anyway, these are initiating signs, birthing the new paradigm. Things are going to start changing so fast. And with this being a total lunar eclipse, it's like a total cosmic catalyst of a reset. It's totally saying we've got to wipe that out. The moon has a lot to do with memories as well, in the past and the ancestors, I'm going to say that we are going to wipe out a lot of these patterns that we have inherited from the patriarchy in just wave after wave after way of doing things and things like that. So, was there anything else? Oh God, there's the door again. Hang on, I'm just going to go. Sorry. I can't believe 2 knocks on the door, but that's okay. At least I remembered to pause and restart. Anyway, all this to say is this eclipse is just a massive completion, a massive ending. Now, I know I keep saying this, but it's a series of endings and a series of, therefore, returns and new beginnings. Okay. It's just huge, this eclipse. Now, there's one other asteroid that is conjunct this eclipse that I think is worth mentioning. It's an asteroid called I'm going to mess it up now, aren't I? Protogenia. Now, if you've heard of, it's a similar word, right? By the way, and Protogenia asteroid stands for initiation, precedence, and being a pioneer. Okay. It represents the inception of a new phase, the firstborn in a lineage or a first in a chosen endeavor. There she is. She's at 12 degrees, conjunct Pallas Athena, another goddess asteroid, if you like. And she is at 12 degrees as well, with that number of completion and return and new beginning. All right. So, this is where we are collectively launching a new beginning in so many ways. Now, another asteroid that is also conjunct this eclipse is Rebecca. Now, Rebecca was one of, in the Bible, Rebecca was one of the, she was a prominent matriarch in Genesis, in like the first chapter of the Bible. She was known as the wife of Isaac and the mother of twins, so, but mostly obviously written and talked about through the male lens. But anyway, she was known for her strength, faith, and she was a complex, decisive figure in early biblical history. But she was said to be manipulative, but they were all painted like that anyway. But Rebecca was one of the kind of original kind of women in the Bible, right there at the start of humanity. Okay, so asteroid Rebecca is right there on this eclipse. She was said to have a role in securing the covenant line. Just as a rope binds things together, Rebecca's actions bound the future of the nation of Israel to the promised lineage through Jacob. But this is beyond just a Judaism thing, by the way. So she represents to tie firmly or to bind from the root, it referring to a knotted corn or hitching place. Okay. So she had a protective nature, just as any motherly kind of energy does. This is again beyond women. Okay. So anyway, I'm not going to go into Rebecca, but she is there. Also conjunct this eclipse is asteroid Selena. Now, there is a white moon Selena. That's actually the end of Leo right now. That's a whole different story. But Selena is said to mention light, bringing the light in. She is also conjunct the sun on this eclipse. All these asteroids are at the sun end, the Pisces, the north node end. It's almost like the solar energy is being depatriotized, because did you know that in more ancient cultures the sun was sometimes both part male, part female in energy, sometimes more one than the other, but sometimes in some cosmologies the sun was a feminine energy. So the sun in many ways is being softened and feminized a little bit, and the moon in Virgo is likewise being shored up strength-wise. I'm kind of I'm kind of generalizing with these energies, but they're so big that really I had to do that. So let me just check into this eclipse period. No, after the eclipse, we've got Venus entering the path that she went retrograde at last March, and then Mercury will do the same after its retrograde. But really, this is like massive cosmic rebirth. It's a massive cosmic growth. I've just noticed that Black Moon Lilith is exactly opposing Hygeia on the eclipse. Hygeia is holistic health, communities, and truth. And Black Moon Lilith is shame, but we're finding out the truth of where we've been shamed, where we've felt shame, is we don't need to hold that in us anymore because it doesn't define who we are. One other thing, Hecate has left Capricorn by the time of the total eclipse and of the lunar total eclipse on the 3rd. Hecate is at 0 Aquarius, which is another hot degree of new beginnings. And she's showing us the path forward with her torch to the future for this new beginning, this cosmic reset, rebirth. Now, I do want to remind you that, though, eclipses play out over the months to come, particularly until the end of July, because of that nodal axis, right? So I want to read you some symbols, if I can find them all. So I'm going to read the Sabian symbol, first of all, for 13 Virgo. So it's the moon is at 12 degrees, so we go up. So the symbol, Sabian symbol for the 13th degree of Virgo is a powerful statesperson. I'm going to say I hate it always being man. Statesperson overcomes a state of political hysteria. This degree symbolizes the ability to remain calm and decisive amidst chaos, acting as a stabilizing authoritative force that brings order to emotional or nonsensical in situations. I don't like them being described as nonsensical, but you can see that's kind of like the Virgo bringing the order out of the chaos of Pisces, bringing it down in a very practical way. Not making it disappear, but kind of making sense of it and bringing it down in a practical way. But it also represents uncompromising self-reliance and a direct confrontation with irrationality. Okay, so it's not going too far either way. Again, so let me, I do want to read James Burgess thing. So he says of this, he said a strong hand supplanting political hysteria. I like that better. But this is about claiming our rightful influence. This is about being open to the downpouring of cosmic energies which gains magnetism and the power to shape and direct your circle. It says those lacking the clarity will train the mind to know the importance of faith. Those lacking the clarity and will to train the mind to know the importance of faith can become confused and anxious when a crisis looms. So that's that Virgo kind of making meaning of it and staying calm in this eye of the storm, if you like. Okay. Then to answer collective needs, a leader is thrown up whose faith has been developed to the highest degree of self-confidence and its resultant charisma. But that can be you as well, taking the lead over yourself. So I want to read the Chandra symbols for the moon. So Virgo 13 is this is the Omega symbol, a meteorite with the edges worn smooth. And this is a transforming receptive degree. You have a cosmic perspective that can help others to lift up out of their little limiting nightmares and karmic loops. You combine a coolness and softness with great power and unwillingness to compromise when the issue is important. You have come from afar to give people many things, in fact, whatever they are ready to receive. It's only the limits of your earthly personality that could ever get in the way of the power of this, so let those limits go. The Chandra symbol for this degree is a man with hair on his back. On first looking at this pair of symbols, one might think there is no obvious connection between them, but meteors are very yang, in that they are heavy and metal, and yet soft in that the atmosphere has burned their edges smooth. And likewise, the man of the Chandra symbol is yang, in that he is a male, and yet has the soft hair on his back, which is a yang part of the body, with the hair on it being yin or feminine. So this is a human, basically. You have the ability to express hard to accept truths in a way that softens them. You do not want to be contentious or to fight, but you will not give up your position when you think you are right. Your intense adherence to your own ideas will draw to you tests through which you can learn what you need to change or modify activities which may not come easily. And if you give in to what these tests are trying to teach you and allow the necessary inner transformations to occur, your connection to spirit will be strengthened. Okay. Now then, I'm going to confuse things even more because I just feel like I had to. 13 Pisces, where the sun is with all those asteroids for a start. The sapien symbol is a sword in a museum. Okay. Representing a shift from active combat or struggle to a state of calm, wisdom, and remembrance, where past conflicts are honoured but no longer necessary in daily life. I love that one. We are leaving these past patterns behind fast. So Pisces 13, Chandra and Omega symbols. So the Omega symbol is a castle so vast no one has ever explored all of it. Pisces 13. This degree deals with issues of where to focus and how much to take in. It's aware that all limitations are ultimately illusions, and that whenever needed, any situation may be opened up to allow in the cosmic perspective that is always seeking entry. When one is ready to explore it further, the doors to further appear and open. The Chandra symbol for this degree is a woman imprisoned in a high tower. This image seems to be the opposite of the Omega. The woman confined in such a small space compared to the unimaginably vast castle. As you may recall, the Omega symbol carries a fourth house vibration. All Omega symbols do, by the way, and that means the root of the chart. Okay, and therefore signifies the nature of the degree at root, whereas the Chandra symbol is how it relates to the world around it, a seventh house vibration. So here we find something that is at root vast, but which relates to the world outwardly as a kind of prison. The message here is that the self is at root limitless. The limitations we seem to find ourselves bound by are actually of our own creation. And those limitations are not necessarily to be done away with. They are there for a purpose to help us have a focus in life. But this degree senses the vastness of itself, but knows also that it must find a focus, which means a confinement, and this confinement is in a tower of its own choosing. It's seeking higher realities. The more these higher realities are assimilated, the more the self can explore its vast reaches without getting lost or disoriented. Alrighty, the cards. Whoa, I love these cards, so I can't wait to go through them. So, first one we had Witch of Discs. Witch of Threads. Red thread, remember? The red thread holds the line of the divine feminine everywhere, within everybody. Anyway, this is your thread of magic. This is the alchemist, the sorceress. This is enchantment. This is saying you can alchemize everything. So I'm not even going to read anything else. You can alchemize yourself. You can connect to everybody. You can create magic like Circe did. Circe, the sorceress. Go and read Madeline Miller's book if you have not read it, called Circe. We've had this one before, right? Three of Cups. This is, I am joy and celebration. This is saying, here lies love that is warmly wrapped up in deep gratitude, generosity, appreciation, and happiness. And then the last of the tarot is remembering that we're all a work in progress and very much dedicated. Okay. So this is all great achievements require time, Maya Angelou. Rumi says everyone has been made for some particular work, and the desire for that work has been put in every heart. Let yourself be silently drawn by the stronger pull of what you really love. And the book says, what part of yourself do you acknowledge as accomplished? People find their ways to a skill or craft through classes, books, and teachings from an expert. Becoming skilled, though, takes time. So it basically says, take some time, smile at what you have created, show the gratitude, find the joy in it, okay? But don't lose your impetus or let it all go to your head. Honor your ambition and talent. Take care of your tools, for they are very much a part of you and your work. And it's the 8. 8 degrees. Remember what I said, mixing the material and the spiritual in balance. Last thing, before I do though, just a reminder to, subscribe, like, comment, please, and check out my series, Immersion. So, this is the Priestess of Priorities. Now she is number 23, number of pairs of chromosomes and all those things. I had somebody come at me saying that 23 was the patriarchal number of the thing. I always said it's 23 pairs of chromosomes, right? Because this person said in her, you are doing the patriarchal kind of thing like that. There are 46 chromosomes. Well, 23 pairs. 2 times 23 is 46. Okay, so we do not just have 23 chromosomes. We have 46. Typically, not everybody has the same. But anyway, but it's the most human of numbers because it's 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 ears and a nose. Number of seconds blood takes to go around the body. It's also another number in the Fibonacci sequence. And it's the number of the alchemist, or chaos magic, as I called it chaos magic, and somebody thought it was demonic, satanic worship or something. But anyway, no. Chaos magic is alchemizing all the ingredients, the chaos of everything you have into the whole. Virgo, Pisces. So anyway, Priestess of Priorities, number 23. Let's read the card. You're being asked to see with new eyes. As you view your life situation right now, the temptation is to address all the needs and concerns that feel urgent. We often make the mistake of trying to solve or resolve before we consider what this moment is asking us to become and how to bring more of our own essence into the equation. Your passions are not something to view at the end of the day as you fall asleep, with no time to tend them, or once a year on vacation. Your passions are an extension of your soul's purpose, and paying attention to them is how you create a life that feels like your own, rather than someone else's vision of how you should be living. A witch understands that she can't let what's urgent get in the way of what's important. Read that again. Every day, the world and your own circumstances will tug at your sleeve, demanding your attention and energy, insisting this is important and that is urgent. They will pull you away from what feels most essential to your own nature. Your job is to use your insight to detect essence. Notice what brings you alive Make a list of the things that inspire you and then prioritize them in your day, week. Create a boundary around them. Protect them like you would a newborn or an injured animal. In order for a witch to thrive, she tends to spend time with what's essential, and no one and nothing can dictate what that is except for her own soul. Bye. Oh, I love this full moon, to be quite honest. Remember, though, it's square to the US ascendant.